it doesn't sit right with me. इतना बड़ा field. How is it possible that people say कि इस field में पैसे नहीं है?
But Australia may, as soon as you graduate masters, you cannot get registered. There is a 3-part process.
What are some other differences between architecture in India, architecture in Australia?
As an employer, अगर आप किसी से पहली बार मिल रहे हो, if they ask you for a job straight away, you'll be like, कौन है कौन तुम?
A lot of people don't get their first job in the field, right? It's a process. It's not that easy. So how did you get a first job? So if somebody listening to this right now, they're confused between Masters of Project Management, Construction Management, and Masters of Architecture, what do you think some of the things that they should consider?
As a graduate, and the starting salary keeps on changing, it keeps on increasing, but right now I think it's sitting about this.
Zorawar, thanks for taking the time out and doing this podcast. I have so many questions specifically about the field of architecture, and I feel that this next 1 hour, anybody who wants to just is curious about this field is going to be a masterclass for them. So thanks for taking the time out.
Thank you so much for inviting me. I always love to talk about architecture and love to help people as much as I can, share my experiences. So I'm excited to be here.
Perfect. I want to start with a hard question. Something that I have heard, but it just doesn't sit right with me. I have heard a lot of architectures say that, यार architect में पैसे ही नहीं है. Architect is a design field, पैसे नहीं है. It doesn't sit right with me. इतना बड़ा field, हर country में ये field like काफी reputed है. Then how is it possible that people say कि इस field में पैसे नहीं है?
Dev, to answer your question in a nutshell, it's a yes. पैसे नहीं है इतने. But having said that, it's more complicated than that. As soon as you graduate out of uni, आप एक job लेते हो within architecture, and you have a friend who has done masters in an allied construction field like construction management or project management, your starting salary as compared to that person would be less by about 10-15K.
Oh wow.
That gap does close slightly as you both get promoted through your fields, but aaj tak, in the last 3.5 years, I've never seen an architect earning more than like a project manager or a construction manager on site with the same level of experience. Having said that, agar aapne architecture mein you've gained experience in a company, and then you go on your own to start your own business because you want to do something or the other, want to work for yourself. Obviously, then like any other business, the potential to earn is unlimited.
Right.
But if you are in a field out of uni, there is a big gap.
Okay,
Yes.
what is the starting salary? And if somebody has studied Masters of Architecture, what would be the job that they'll get?
So if you completed Masters of Architecture from Australia, the first your position when you enter into the field would be a graduate of architecture.
Okay.
Does not matter however much experience you have from India or from anywhere, but yes, you'll enter as a graduate, and the starting salary, it keeps on changing, it keeps on increasing, but right now I think it's sitting about this 65K to 70K mark.
Between 60 to 70,000.
Between 60 to 70.
But at the same time, if somebody has done construction management and theirs would start at 70K, for example.
75 to 80, yes.
Oh wow, okay,
Yes.
That's quite interesting.
It is.
So why would somebody who has done Bachelors of Architecture choose to study Masters of Architecture? Like, why did you choose to study Masters of Architecture and nothing else?
So for me, and many people might relate to it, it was the passion for design. Did my Bachelors of Architecture from India, 1 saal kaam bhi kara India mein, and really liked design, the creative part of architecture. Obviously, architecture is art and technical, but the art side, the creative side was what really got me into it. And masters करने के लिए जब मैंने यहाँ पे courses देखे, subjects देखे, I only did Masters of Architecture because I wanted to continue that design and continue sort of just designing spaces that are meaningful and useful for the end users. Yeah, that's pretty much why I continued with Masters of Architecture.
I love that, dude.
Yeah.
No, that's really good to be passionate about the field. If so, after I study Masters of Architecture, will I become an architect in Australia?
Not straight away. You will eventually, but as I said before, okay, as soon as you graduate, you'll get a job as a graduate of architecture.
Yeah.
And to get registered in Australia, is different from India. India में आप bachelor's खत्म करते हो, after 5 years you go to Council of Architecture with your transcript, pay the money, and then you are registered as an architect. You can practice as an architect. But Australia में as soon as you graduate masters, you cannot get registered.
Okay.
There's a whole process to it. There is a 3-part process.
Okay.
You have to submit a logbook of 3,300 hours.
Okay.
That usually takes about, on the short side, 3 years, but on an average about 4 years
Okay.
to get quality number of hours.
Right.
So it's not a race, it's not about quantity, it's about quality.
Yeah.
क्योंकि उसके अंदर multiple competencies होती हैं that you have to tick. Sustainability, working with First Nations, engagement, and all of that.
Wow.
You have to cover a lot of things.
Right.
You have to get site experience as well as documentation.
Yeah.
And then once you pass your logbook, then you have to sit for a written exam.
Okay.
That also covers lots of legal aspects like contracts and everything. And then once you pass the part 2, then you have to sit for an oral interview.
That's insane.
So that interview is about 45 minutes to 1 hour with 2 examiners, and they will judge whether. So it seems like a very big thing,
Yeah.
and it seems like a task. It
Yeah.
is. But the only reason for that is that the word architect and the profession of architecture is protected legally in Australia.
Mhm.
So that जैसे मैंने मास्टर्स करी, मैंने पढ़ाई नहीं करी, मैं जस्ट पास हो गया, बट आई एम नॉट केपेबल ऑफ डिजाइनिंग अ बिल्डिंग. मैं बाहर जाके अपने आप को आर्किटेक्ट बोल के बस साइन ऑफ कर नहीं रहा और कल को 2 साल बाद वो बिल्डिंग गिर जाए. हु इज कैरिंग दैट लायबिलिटी? यू आर प्लेइंग विद पीपल्स लाइव्स, राइट? इट्स अ वेरी वेरी इंपॉर्टेंट प्रोफेशन. सो वो जो 2 एग्जामिनर्स इंटरव्यू में आपको टेस्ट कर रहे होते हैं, वो यही टेस्ट कर रहे हैं कि as soon as this guy who's sitting across the table, ये बाहर जाएगा, डिजाइन करेगा, कुछ साइन ऑफ करेगा ड्राइंग्स में, क्या वो बिल्डिंग ठीक फंक्शन करेगी? So it's not just about design, it's also about designing to rules, to standards, and
taking the responsibility as well that
Correct.
whatever you're doing is of quality standard and
correct, because it's a profession, so you carry liability as well,
Yeah.
and you have to maintain insurance as well.
yeah.
So that's why it's a big thing.
Sounds intense, man. Like ये ऐसा लग रहा है कि डॉक्टर्स का जैसा होता है ना कि डॉक्टर just because you're a doctor in India doesn't mean you're a doctor here. You have to give few exams.
Yeah,
But this is like even further than that. You have to do.
I feel strange that you compared that, because जब इंडिया में bachelor's कर रहे थे, and you tell people कि architecture is 5 years, they're like, the first thing they compare that to is with the medical field.
Yeah.
And yes, I think it is very intense, but yeah, if the passion drives you, it drives you.
I love that. So you mentioned that India में हम अगर bachelor's किया, then we can become an architect.
Yes.
Australia में there is a longer process.
Mhm.
What are some other differences between architecture in India, architecture in Australia?
So सबसे पहले to start with studying, जब हम bachelor's इंडिया में कर रहे थे या करते हैं, तो one of the things is it's a very intense schedule. So वो यूनिवर्सिटी में, especially the first 3 years when you join architecture, it's 5 days आप जाते हो and mostly 9 to 5 काम करते हो, study करते हो, sorry, and there are about 8 to 10 subjects all throughout those 5 days, and थोड़ा सर पे डंडा होता है, you know what I mean, कि अगर आपने नहीं इंटेक्ट करे classes, 1 नहीं करी, 2 नहीं करी, तीसरी बार the teacher or the management will come up to you and they will say कि नहीं हो रहा, and there might be repercussions to that, exams के time पे या whatever. Whereas यहाँ के masters में it was almost like newly found freedom कि if you are a passive student, no one will care, because they would expect it's a professional course, so you will act professionally. यहाँ पे आपसे टीचर आके नहीं पूछेगा कि आपको ये समझ आया या is this topic clear to you. Maybe एक बार पूछ लेगा अगर बहुत ही अच्छा टीचर हुआ, but these guys abide by something, a line called no news is good news.
Okay.
And it is true in all walks of life.
Okay.
अगर आपको प्रॉब्लम है, अगर आपको कुछ नहीं समझ आ रहा या whatever reason, you have to put your hand up.
Okay.
If you don't, the other person won't. So that's one of the bigger difference in education.
Okay.
India में also, I think there was a lot of focus on rationality and practicality of a project. Yes, design is important, but how will you handle the services? How will you handle the structure? क्या आपने इस बारे में सोचा है? They encourage you to think about these things. Whereas यहाँ पे there was focus in one of the studios, but in the larger scale of events, probably not so much.
Okay.
क्योंकि यहाँ पे in the profession, it's way more structured. So अगर as an architect, you will work with services engineers, hydraulics, mech, structure engineers. So यहाँ पे presume करते हैं कि they will handle that part of the design, which they do. But you don't want graduates or architects who design without thinking about any of these rational things.
Does that mean that in Australia, designing and creativity is more encouraged compared to India?
I think it's a bit of a hit and miss.
Okay.
I think यहाँ पे personal experience से in the 2 years of uni, what I've noticed is there's a focus on how things look visually.
Okay.
So like the final presentations you do, the final renders you do, the image is beautiful.
Okay.
But rationality, maybe utna nahi, maybe towards the end, or maybe in that one particular studio that I talked about, which is focused on construction.
Right.
But if it's a design studio, utna rational focus nahi hoga usme.
Okay.
Maybe unless you talk about it.
Fair enough.
But they won't question you like they did in India.
Fair enough. And in terms of working, so you've worked in architectural firm in India,
Yes.
and you've worked in architectural firm in Australia. So
Correct.
what were some of the differences there?
I think so. After I finished my bachelor's of architecture in India, I did about a year worth of experience while I was looking for options in Australia and around the world. So, and having worked here, I think अगर मुझे कुछ comparative वो निकालने is that India में I was part of a big firm. It was a 60 people firm spread across 3 floors of one building. So when you join, it's a very subjective thing. So वहाँ पे join करना was good because the firm is very well known, right? They do good projects, primarily residential, hotels, commercial. But उनका नाम था वहाँ पे. But क्योंकि नाम था, वो बड़ी firm थी. तो when you join at the bottom of the chain, right?
Okay.
आपके जैसे there are
बहुत सारे.
20, 30, 40 people.
Yeah.
So अगर आप कल को नहीं हो, you can be replaced by like that.
हाँ.
So जब आप वहाँ join करते हो, again जो हमने पहले टॉपिक टच करा था कि first of all it's a base salary. I think I was earning about what 20,000 rupees a month.
Yeah.
तो looking back at it, मतलब it feels weird and funny.
हाँ.
तो
अभी दिन के ज़्यादा कमाते हैं.
correct. तो but the tasks you get, आपको मिलेंगे वो वाले tasks जो और कोई करना नहीं चाहता. Most of the designing is done by very senior architects.
Okay.
Yeah, principals.
Yeah.
All the sort of design strategies and overarching decisions are taken by them, and then you would be taken. You would be given tasks like documenting that and सारा कुछ. But यहाँ पे I understand documentation and that grit is important. You have to go through that. जब मैंने यहाँ join करा, one of my first tasks was designing a toilet.
Oh,
and
but at least it was designing.
It was, yes. But yes, मैंने काफी देर documentation करी. But at the same time, जब design discuss होता था, they would ask for my input. And usually it is the case. It might be different at other firms, but usually it is. Secondly, I think one of the topics I want to touch about is continuous professional development or CPD. हमने अभी बात करी थी architecture registration के हिसाब से. तो to maintain your registration in Australia, you have to undertake something that is called CPD, which is basically just keeping up to date with the latest trends and standards and technology in architecture.
How do you do that?
So Australia में जिस firm में मैं काम करता था पहले, they used to have in-house presentations.
Okay.
So the suppliers, they reach out to architecture firms and they're like, can we do a lunch and learn session? We'll provide lunch, we'll give a presentation, you'll get a CPD, and in the hopes of के आगे जाके क्या पता हमें you'll give an opportunity to work with you.
Fair enough.
But so as grads, you don't need to do CPD because I've registered new.
Okay.
But I used to make it a point to be in that CPD.
Nice.
Not just for a free meal, but also to learn a lot.
Yeah.
Because as grads, it's the world is an oyster. You can learn infinitely.
Yeah.
India mein, there was nothing like that.
Nice.
अगर आपने कुछ नई चीज लर्न करनी है या समथिंग, इट्स
Yeah.
टोटली अप टू यू. नो वंस पुशिंग यू टू डू दैट. सो वहाँ मुझे लगता है कि कहीं थोड़ा सा लैकिंग है.
Yeah, तो different है.
करेक्ट.
Yeah.
करेक्ट.
I like that because I know a few other fields as well, and they encourage. What I have noticed is I was talking to somebody recently, and actually मैं मेरी ही बात करता हूँ. मैं पढ़ने आया मास्टर्स ऑफ बिजनेस मोनाश यूनिवर्सिटी. क्यों? क्योंकि G8 है अपने पढ़ेंगे बढ़िया. और पढ़ता तो था नहीं मैं. Like कुछ भी कर रहा हूँ, जॉब कर रहा हूँ बहुत ज्यादा, पार्ट टाइम जॉब कर रहा हूँ. Obviously रेंट के पैसे डालने हैं, बट पढ़ नहीं रहा मैं.
Yeah.
So there were few friends who were born and brought up here, and they're like, यार तू इतना बढ़िया कोर्स कर रहा है, मास्टर्स पढ़ रहा है. उनके लिए मास्टर्स was like, भाई क्या कर रहे हैं? अपने लिए तो हर कोई मास्टर्स करता है.
Correct.
So I did that, and then they were like, why? Like तू इतना casual कैसे है यार? मास्टर्स है, पढ़ना नहीं है तुझे? मैं यार क्या बात कर रहे हो? 2 दिन पढ़ूंगा, पास हो जाऊंगा. Like कौन सी बड़ी बात है इसमें? और वैसे भी ये तो मतलब MBA स्टाइल है कि मास्टर्स ऑफ बिजनेस पढ़ रहा हूँ, इतना ज्यादा डिफिकल्ट नहीं है. And then one of them asked me a question which is like, तू पढ़ने के लिए आया है क्या? Like you're saying that you got into like a group of 8 university, मोनाश का नाम था इसलिए लिया, got into a course that you wanted to. So did you actually want to study, or did you just want to study in this college and tell people that you're studying here? And that was like something, light bulb moment. I was like, सोचा ही नहीं कभी इसके बारे में. For us, getting into something is a lot more important.
Correct.
than having that ability to learn. कि ज्यादा सीखना है मुझे, ये चीज कभी encourage ही नहीं करी गई. मतलब हमारे the way our education works.
Yes.
So I think that was a very, and now you're saying that it follows in your profession as well, like with the CPD and everything. So I think that is something that I find different here, and also better about the mindset, which is like we want to learn rather than सिर्फ marks ले आने.
Correct.
So going back to your masters, was it difficult compared to your bachelor's, or because मेरा masters काफी simple था. Like because I had done law, so I did BCom LLB, then I was practicing law, then I was like I like the business side of more, so I do masters of business, but काफी simple लगा था मुझे. Like 2-3 दिन कॉलेज जाओ, 5 दिन उधर मैं 75% अटेंडेंस करता था, 5 दिन जाके एटलीस्ट, और इधर जाओ ना जाओ फर्क नहीं पड़ता. So what was the difference between your studying there and you studying here?
I think one of the biggest differences was so I studied at UniSA, and the reason I chose UniSA over a G8 was the subjects.
Okay.
And that's what I tell people जब मुझे कोई LinkedIn पे message करता है from India saying कि oh I saw your profile and just do you have any pointers? The first thing I tell them, and I understand as you said कि as Indians हम जब ऐसे बाहर देखते हैं हम सबसे पहली चीज देखते हैं ranking. Because हम किसी को बताएंगे, किसी रिलेटिव को बताएंगे, वो भी ये देखेगा अच्छा टॉप 100 में आ रही है, टॉप 50 में आ रही है. But it's not always true. G8 you have to understand कि G8 is based on establishment and research. Architecture is a very practical course. So yes, G8 universities अच्छी, they have good courses. But मेरे लिए UniSA was a very good balance in terms of Adelaide, a better pathway to getting a residency, and UniSA offering courses that are more industry focused. So यहाँ पे UniSA में I would say you can tailor your degree, and when I say tailor, it's because there are 4 semesters, and in every semester you can choose an elective.
Okay.
And the elective offerings are through the roof. Like you can choose photography.
Oh wow.
You can choose I don't know, ceramics.
Yeah.
Or you can go into sustainability, urban planning. One of the semesters I chose an internship.
Nice.
So it's totally up to you. So अगर मेरे किसी colleague ने same masters करी है, same courses but different electives, they would have learned or taken something out of it which would be different from what I did. So that's one of the major differences.
Yeah, the elective thing is, I agree. I took entrepreneurship as one of the electives, and I think that wasn't necessarily everybody had taken, and that was, you're right, that is something. I think now India is just introducing that, like our education system. Some of universities are just introducing electives in their courses, but it's not as prevalent as it is here.
Yes.
Did you do any part-time jobs while you were studying?
I did, yes. One of the first part-time jobs I did was as a sales consultant in Maya Center.
Okay.
And I would say, yes, paise kamana was one thing because, I mean, lots of people have got support from home, from parents. we are lucky enough to do that. But I was like कि अच्छा अगर मैं यूनिवर्सिटी की फीस साइड पे रख दूँ ना इतना थोड़ा सा रेंट और यहाँ
खाना पीना यहाँ
पे
पे
पॉकेट
चलेगा,
मनी
हाँ
यहाँ खुद कर लूँ
खर्चे
एंड एट द सेम टाइम जस्ट गेटिंग सम एक्सपीरियंस बिकॉज अगर यूनिवर्सिटी 2 दिन जा रहे हो आप 3 दिन जा रहे हो उसके अलावा you've got time as well. So why not use that time? So I think and sales was something जो मुझे अच्छा लगा because that pushed me out of my comfort zone and I had to go out there, talk to people, try to sell them stuff or try to answer their questions. जो मुझे लगता है कि in a field like architecture it adds value.
Okay.
Not directly, I'm not in architecture में मैं उनको homeware नहीं बेच रहा, but I'm trying to sell a design, I'm trying to sell an idea.
Just become better at communication.
Correct, exactly.
Okay.
That was one of my first jobs, and after that COVID hit.
Okay.
तो थोड़ी देर के लिए it was शांत, and then after that I went to and worked at a couple of hotels as a food and beverage assistant.
Oh wow, okay. What does a food and beverage assistant do?
It's basically a waiter.
Fair enough. So an architect in India, and when you're working as a server, for example, did it hit your ego? It's like यार पता है मैं architect हूँ.
I think depends on how you look at it. Indian mindset के हिसाब से it will.
Okay.
It might, and if I'm being honest, मैंने थोड़ी देर के लिए अपने parents से वो I kept it from them as well.
Yeah.
कि I know कि वो probably वैसे नहीं सोचते जैसे मैं सोचता हूँ.
They don't know what happens here.
Correct. But यहाँ पे once you come here and realize after doing that, say part-time jobs like this, because it's not easy, right? It's not easy to sustain yourself.
Right.
अगर मैं सोचूं कि while doing architecture, while studying architecture, मैं कोई paid internship architecture में लूं, it's not going to happen.
Okay.
ऐसे नहीं होता. So you have to resort to like other part-time jobs like this one.
Yeah.
But it humbles you, right? It grounds you. And then you realize कि अगर मैं एक टाइम पे कॉफी बना रहा हूँ, कल को मैं 2 साल बाद अब मैं जब कॉफी लेने जा रहा हूँ, the person behind the counter is just like me.
Yeah, I've been there.
Right.
Yeah.
It's everyone's equal.
Yeah. Dude, that was such an eye opener for me. Because मैं वो खुद की इमेज लेके आया था कि मैं हाई कोर्ट में प्रैक्टिस करता हूँ. सूट, गाउन, हर रोज सुबह व्हाइट शर्ट, लाइक प्रॉपर अपने हाई कोर्ट में प्रैक्टिस करते हैं, बड़ी सी लॉ फर्म में काम करते हैं. So I had that image of me, right?
Yeah.
Subconsciously you build it, like this is who you are.
Yeah.
बढ़िया जगह एडमिशन लिया है. Obviously सब नाम की वजह से, ऐसा नहीं था कि मैंने कुछ ज्यादा ही रिसर्च कर लिया था. मैंने अप्लाई सिर्फ 3 जगह किया क्योंकि 3 नाम बढ़िया थे. तो उसमें से एक पढ़ रहे हो. And then the first job was like taking orders, like at a pizza store.
Yeah.
And that was still good, right? I'm behind the counter. ऐसा नहीं है कि मैं like at that time ऐसा कि dishwashing नहीं करूँगा ये, right? This is the first mindset जब भी आप इधर आते हो. Second job मेरी थी, that was I was in Melbourne और Flagstaff station है, that's like just at the corner of CBD. वहाँ पे खड़े होके I had to give pamphlets, you know, और कुछ लोग लेंगे नहीं, कुछ लोग तुम्हारे सामने ऐसे weird देखेंगे. ठंड लग रही है भाई, मैंने 6 लेयर पहने हुए. Okay, I'm wearing thermal पहने हुए. मेलबर्न की जुलाई अगस्त की ठंडी है, मैंने अंदर थर्मल पहना है, उसके ऊपर टी शर्ट पहना है, उसके ऊपर शर्ट पहना है, उसके ऊपर स्वेटर पहना है, उसके ऊपर जैकेट पहना है. फिर भी like because we are not used to it, right? And Melbourne gets really cold in July, August. And then the whole idea of कि भाई अपने सूट पहनते हैं, अगर आयरन शर्ट नहीं है तो ये नहीं पहननी मुझे. Like अपने कबर्ड में 4 आयरन शर्ट पड़े ही होते हैं, मतलब वो तो क्या मैजिकली उधर होता है. वो जो था ना, पूरा हम्बल हो गया. Definitely. हाँ.
मतलब I can imagine, and you must have experienced it as well. There have been more than one times जब मैं रात के 2 बजे होटल की बैक किचन में बैठा हुआ, मेरी टी शर्ट गंदी हुई है, डिश वॉशिंग लिक्विड या व्हाटएवर से मैं बैठा हुआ सोच रहा हूँ कि अपनी लाइफ की सारी फ्लैशबैक आ रहा है मुझे कि क्या मुझे ये लाइफ चाहिए. कि मतलब इट्स वेरी इजी टू गिव अप बिकॉज यू थिंक अबाउट ऑल द लग्जरीज यू हैव इन इंडिया. आपको अपना खाना नहीं बनाना, आपको अपने कपड़े नहीं धोने, आपको बर्तन नहीं धोने, व्हाटएवर. यहाँ पे आप सब कुछ खुद कर रहे हो. एंड डूइंग थिंग्स लाइक दैट, अंडरगोइंग एक्सपीरियंसेस लाइक दैट, आई थिंक it's great for personal growth.
Yeah, and it humbles you, right? अभी अगर हम इंडिया गए and when we talk to a server or when we go get a coffee, भाई इतना हम्बल होता हूँ मैं उनसे कि अरे मैं कर लेता हूँ, मैं इधर करूंगा उधर करूंगा, सेम है, like I've done this, right? The whole attitude changes.
डेफिनेटली मैं जब फर्स्ट टाइम वापस गया इंडिया आफ्टर कमिंग टू ऑस्ट्रेलिया, मेरे दोस्त मुझे बोले तू इतनी बार थैंक यू क्यों बोल रहा है?
That is so true, man. Like I'm sure everybody who comes here and the first time they go, they just have like a different revelation and just learn more things, right? And I think it's a good experience overall.
Definitely, and it's not just Indians coming here and doing this stuff. मैंने अपने senior architect या principal architect से बात करी है. In their time, they have worked in a bar, they have done food and beverage or a random job like this. और अब वो respected architects हैं और अपनी अपनी field में they are मतलब they are in the cream. So I don't think there's any sort of something to feel bad about it or अपने आप को underestimate करना. Everyone does it.
Yeah, it's a way of life. Yeah. So you were doing part-time jobs, Masters of Architecture, University of SMA चल रहा है, and then you were involved in a lot of volunteering organizations as well.
Right. Yes.
So why did you, like for example, universities में clubs and societies होती है, right? So this is again first second semester, right? मेरा mindset बहुत थी like full गुज्जू mindset. अभी आए हैं पहली बार डॉलर में कमा रहे हैं भाई, मतलब मैं तो कन्वर्ट कर रहा था पहले 6 महीने तक, लोगों का 1 महीने में चेंज होता है, मेरा 6 महीने तक मैं कन्वर्ट कर रहा हूँ कि देखो मैं कितना कमा रहा हूँ. मेरी फर्स्ट सैलरी इंडिया में थी 15,000 रुपए, पर उसमें भी 10% कुछ TDS है कुछ काट के हाथ में 13,500 आते थे. सो यहाँ पे तो बढ़िया कमा रहे इधर, मतलब $20 $25 एक घंटे का मिल रहा है. सो I did not involve myself in clubs and societies. Volunteering क्यों ही करो, वही पैसे थोड़ी ना मिल रहे हैं. मेरा इनिशियली वो माइंडसेट था पहले साल तक, right? And then it changed. But you have been volunteering throughout, like your university, after your university, and during work, while you're working professionally. Why were you doing that?
There are couple of reasons. सबसे पहला तो was to give back to the community. I always live by that. कि through my journey so far, अगर मुझे किसी ने जैसे मर्जी help करे, I wouldn't have come so far without guidance and help and getting experiences from other people. So if now I'm in a state to do that for others, I'll do that, right? Secondly, I think depends क्या volunteering के लिए क्या choose कर रहे हो. Yes, there are certain things जहाँ पे आप सिर्फ to help the community, but then again there are volunteering experiences that teach you a lot और आप में बहुत ज़्यादा qualities लेके आते हैं.
Okay.
So like through my uni life, I was the secretary of Indian Students Assembly of South Australia, जो उनका Indian club है, and then
so universities are में clubs and societies होती है.
Correct.
उसमें से एक club Indian students के लिए होती है.
Correct.
Which is called
Indian Students Assembly of South Australia.
Okay, that is nice. So that is what is one of the clubs in University of South
Australia.
So
similarly,
you got involved there.
Correct. Similarly, Adelaide University का भी एक और club है. They've both got similar clubs.
Yeah.
So I was involved in that. वहाँ पे obviously most of our sort of club members were Indians. तो काफी सारे नए students आ रहे थे, and after my second year, मतलब in my second year, I was in a position to tell them कि अच्छा ऐसे ऐसे है, and just organizing events, सारा कुछ. So they teach you certain qualities like event planning, leadership, जो कि सारा कहीं ना कहीं it'll come back, right? Then because I was always involved in sports, जब मैं इंडिया में था, जब मैं bachelor's कर रहा था, तो I was involved in cricket and basketball. तो यहाँ आके I didn't want to give that away.
Okay.
जब I was still trying to find my way कि मैं clubs वगैरह में कैसे जाऊँ, तो I got myself into UniSA sport.
Okay.
जो उनका sporting UniSA का sporting segment है.
Okay.
उसमें as an activator, जहाँ पे sporting events पे volunteer वगैरह करना सारा कुछ. So just to maintain that connections, build connections and relationships, and right after that, so this was obviously extracurricular, not related to my profession, but something that I liked.
Yeah.
But then there's an organization in Australia called Australian Institute of Architects. If I'm being totally factual, then it's called Royal Australian Institute of Architects.
Right.
So they've got segments, right? When you are students, so to become a member of AIA, you become a member of SONA, which is SONA, Student Organized Network of Architecture.
Okay.
And both universities in Adelaide, they have a SONA rep.
Okay.
So, and then they've got SONA members.
Right.
उसमें involve होके as just becoming a member, you can start going to architecture events, which are more obviously they were closely related to my field. And मैं पहले एक दो बारी गया, I was like कैसा फील हो रहा है यहाँ पे, मोस्टली डोमेस्टिक स्टूडेंट्स हैं, कुछ इंडियन है, कोई जानता नहीं है, and it was a bit intimidating and daunting, मतलब totally honest. But then at the same time I realized कि if I don't put myself out there, तो मैं कैसे, how will I survive? It's a new country, new culture, I'm starting from scratch. यहाँ पे ऐसे connections पापा को तो नहीं जानते लोग यहाँ पे, तो यहाँ पे तो आपको जानने मिला, और आपको कैसे तब तक नहीं जानेंगे जब तक आप अपने आप को नहीं you won't put yourself out there. So going to those events really helped me sort of build connections, and probably that's one of the reasons I landed an internship and then a job after uni as well.
Oh, that's interesting.
So I'll share that story in a bit. And now after university, after I graduated, I couldn't be a member of SONA anymore because my student knew. So I joined the next step, which is called Imagine, EMAGN, Emerging Architects and Graduates Network.
Okay.
So wo jo demographic hai, that represents 40% of the whole membership, AIA membership.
Nice.
And that represents people who have graduated up to 15 years. So
of experience.
Correct. Usme I'm now, when I joined Imagine, I was a committee member. And then since last year, I'm one of the co-chairs for South Australia.
Nice.
So ये सारी चीजें पहले from day one to a SONA event जहाँ मुझे डर लग रहा था, मैं कांप रहा हूँ अंदर से, अब मैं स्टेट की कमेटी को हेड कर रहा हूँ. So वही सारी leadership qualities वगैरह, I'm getting to learn a lot, meeting so many new people. But अब मैं events वगैरह पे जाता हूँ, so people know me. So industry में अब मुझे लोग जानते हैं.
Building a name for yourself.
Correct. So last 5 years have all been about that, and I feel कि Australia में you would have felt that as well, कि जब तक आपके networks नहीं है, तब तक you can't go anywhere. And अगर आप you have the right connections, तो you never know opportunities कहाँ से आती.
I agree. I think, and that goes everywhere, right? Whether we are in India, we are in Australia. Network is basically your net worth, right?
Correct.
So just having that and putting yourself out there, meeting more people. And I think one thing that I've realized is that a lot of people take the networking in a wrong way. They think कि अभी जैसे for example I meet you, I'm a student, I meet you in one of the events, right? And then my whole approach is कि Zorawar यार job है क्या, right? That becomes a approach. I don't think that is the best way to do it. I don't think that is a way to do it at all. I think building a relation, developing and nurturing that relationship should be the goal. And that doesn't happen by एक बार मिले event में, you know, or फिर it's not something that I'm going to hi, what are you doing? Bro, that looks creepy, right? So rather than you meeting the same kind of people or same set of people in multiple events, them knowing कि नहीं ये बंदा या ये बंदी भी dedicated है, they're interested in growing and stuff, you see that they're also of the same thing, and then it's a natural process that happens.
Correct.
So do you have any weird experiences that you had at networking events, or even what's some of the things that people have asked you about networking tips and you think that people do wrong?
I mean, the completely correct point about how you approach someone is आप सीधा जाके नहीं बोलोगे कि मुझे ये चीज चाहिए आपसे. अगला बंदा क्यों देगा? They don't know you. So I think the first thing, if you approach someone on LinkedIn, say, first of all, approaching the right people over LinkedIn. So agar you want a job, find the right employers, and us employer, us firm mein, who's the person who you want to talk to. So say as a fresh graduate, when I got my first job, agar koi mujhe approach kar raha hai, I'm not in a position to offer them a job, right? मैं उनको जानता नहीं, ना मैं HR हूँ, ना मैं डायरेक्टर हूँ, मेरे पास अथॉरिटी नहीं है. So going to the right people, approaching the right people, and the first thing you want to do is ask them for a coffee, ask them for a catch up, and have that coffee. That's your chance to make the first impression. And मेरी सिर्फ my take on that is, in that first catch up, share your story, share where you're coming from, and tell them about your ambitions of where do you want to go. क्योंकि you've got to think about the other side, from the other side. As an employer, अगर आप किसी से पहली बार मिल रहे हो, if they ask you for a job straight away, you'll be like,
क्यों?
कौन है कौन तुम? तो but अगर वो आपको अपने बारे में बता रहा है और वो आपको बता रहा है मैं यहाँ जाना चाहता हूँ, आपकी फर्म यहाँ से आई है, आपकी फर्म यहाँ जाना चाहती है और वो अलाइन करती है चीज, then you get the other person interested. But at the same time, don't get your hopes up. A good catch up does not mean कि आपको जॉब मिलेगी ही मिलेगी. Because आर्किटेक्चर में ऐसे नहीं है कि हर साल एक स्पेसिफिक ओपनिंग्स होंगी. It's an industry जहाँ पे if a firm is busy, they will hire. If they are not busy, they won't hire. But for graduates, especially, getting that first step into the industry is, I feel, सबसे ज़्यादा tough because firms don't spend money on advertising or recruitment consultants to advertise for graduate roles. Graduate roles, so far, मतलब जितना मैंने देखा है, are all filled in through networks. क्योंकि there are so many graduates looking for jobs. अगर आपने किसी के साथ connection बनाया हुआ है, they will keep you in their mind, right? आज नहीं तो एक हफ्ते बाद, एक महीने बाद, 2 महीने बाद, that person अगर उसको लगा कि ओ अब मेरे पास ओपनिंग है, then उसके दिमाग में you'll be there कि इस बंदे को मैं मिला था, I'll approach him. Yes. So, and if you're going to an event, it's pretty much the same thing.
Interesting. Is that how did you get your architecture internship?
Internship through while being in the university. So UniSA में, obviously, as I said, one of the electives is called professional placement. I asked the coordinator, okay, I'm really interested. What's the sort of procedure for that? And उसके लिए मुझे portfolio बनाना पड़ा, CV बनाना पड़ा. So a lot of people do that. It's open to everyone. But you go in a pool.
Okay.
Right? And the university has contacts with plenty of firms in Adelaide. So वो portfolios and CVs, I don't know how they do it. I presume they filter it according to आपके portfolio में क्या है, firm में क्या है. क्योंकि अगर मैंने अपने CV या expression of interest में लिखा है I want to work on commercial buildings, मेरा CV किसी healthcare firm के पास नहीं जाएगा. So they send it out.
Okay.
And the firm then shortlists your portfolio and calls you in for an interview. But मैंने थोड़ा सा differently करा.
Okay.
Because I'm a go-getter. मुझे है कि मुझे opportunity बनानी है. मैं wait नहीं कर सकता. So मैंने वो चीज़ करी. But then I went around. मैंने through networks मैंने firm को approach करा directly. And to get their attention, it's very important to have a reference. उसके बिना नहीं होता. Everyone's busy. No one cares कि कोई random email आ रही है. So it was just I used a reference to get their attention. That's it.
Okay.
उसके बाद I sent them my portfolio directly and told them कि मैं ऐसे university के through I want to do professional placement, 150 hours of internship with you. So what's the way to go? So they called me for an interview. They were like, all right, all good. We'll coordinate with the university. We'll tell them okay, we want as one of the interns for this year. We want you. So that's how I got an internship.
Nice.
Yes.
Because a lot of people just like leave it to the university. कि अभी university कर रही है मैंने तो करने दो. But having that ability to actually just figure out what firm do I want, where do I want to work, and that. How did you know the person, the reference?
Through events, through networks. Yes.
So no previous connection.
No previous connection.
You
whatsoever.
went to the events, you kept going, built
Correct.
connections there,
Correct.
and then you knew कि यहाँ पे university apply कर सकती है मेरे लिए, so I'll reach out to them and they'll talk to someone.
Yeah, मतलब I'll make it clear on record कि वो मुझे internship उस person की वजह से नहीं मिली.
Right.
मुझे वो attention, first point of attention उस person के through.
Yeah.
But उसके बाद it was just what I do with that reference, right?
Okay.
What you make out of it.
Yeah. So did you go and ended up working in the same firm as your first job?
No, I didn't. So जिस firm में मैंने internship करी, it's a very very big firm. It's a multinational firm, and they work on big projects. They work on amazing projects. But जब मैंने internship करी, it was a bit of a desperate move, right? क्योंकि मेरे पास कोई industry experience नहीं है in Australia, in my industry. Yes, मैं part time jobs कर रहा था, but मैंने sales person नहीं बनना, मैंने architect बनना. तो जब मैंने after finishing the internship, my first inclination was to maintain that relationship. I finished my masters in another 6 months. So मुझे वो dialogue open रखना था. But then after the end of that internship, after 2 months, I realized that maybe this is not where I would want to work as my first job.
Okay.
क्योंकि, I mean, not कुछ बुरा ना बोलने के उस पे, but it was just the atmosphere.
It's a choice, right?
Correct.
It's a, whether I want to work in a 3 people firm, 15 people firm, 50 people firm, 150
Correct.
people firm. Yeah.
So the atmosphere was a bit too corporate for me.
Yeah.
And I didn't want it to be my first role.
Nice.
Yes, maybe a few years down the line when I want to grow and work on those type of projects, I would love to work there. But as a starting point, I thought maybe no harm in looking for other stuff.
So you did this internship and stuff.
Yes.
But a lot of people don't get their first job in the field, right? It's a process. It's not that easy. Yeah. So how did you get your first job?
I got my first job through, believe it or not, one of the Sona events.
Okay.
It was called an office crawl.
Okay.
And मैंने अपनी last assignment submit करी on a Wednesday.
Yeah.
And Thursday and Friday ये event था.
Okay.
It was office crawl is basically like a pub crawl.
Okay.
But you go hopping around not bars but architecture studios.
Oh wow.
In the
Okay.
city.
Who does this event? Oh, Sona did that.
Sona did that.
So
they organized that event.
The organization where you were involved as a student.
Yes.
That does
exactly.
Okay.
Exactly.
Okay.
So that's why the emphasis on attending those events it's right up there, right? So वहाँ पे हम गए, went through about 5 studios on one day.
Okay.
And including landscape, an urban planner, and 3 architecture studios.
Okay.
So Brown Falconer was one of the studios where we went to.
Okay.
And as soon as I entered the studio, मैंने उनके बारे में सुना हुआ था, मैंने उनके बारे
Brown
में.
Falconer is an architectural firm. Later on, you went and got a job there.
Correct.
Right.
Exactly.
So this is the first time you are entering the studio.
Yes.
Yeah.
So, but I had already heard about them.
Yeah.
मैंने थोड़ी सी research करी हुई
Yeah.
थी on all the studios we're going to, कि
Yeah.
क्या, just to have some topics to talk about, right?
Obviously.
I don't want to go there as a
Blank page.
कि क्या मुझे नहीं पता क्या है. तो how it went was कि one of their principals, he had organized a presentation.
Okay.
Just a run through of the company, what they do, how long they've been, and सारा कुछ सारा. And it was a walk of the studio.
Okay.
A studio tour.
कितने लोग थे ये tour पे?
There were about 20-25
Okay.
students.
So
Most of them final year students.
Nice.
But as soon as I entered Brown Falconer, it was back in 2019, August, July.
Yeah.
So I got this very positive energy.
Yeah.
And जब वो presentation हुई, tour हुआ, I thought to myself, I would really like to work here.
Oh wow, nice.
मतलब वो अंदर से there was a feeling, right?
What did you like about the firm so much that you wanted to work there?
I had heard a lot about the culture. जैसा studio setup था, it didn't look corporate. It looked like a very creative space. And the projects they do, first of all, they are involved in lots of sectors.
Right.
So they do commercial, retail, residential,
Okay.
healthcare. So I wanted to go into the firm क्योंकि मुझे उस टाइम पे नहीं पता था कि मैं क्या करना चाहता हूँ. So I wanted to go somewhere जहाँ मुझे multiple opportunities मिल सके.
Explore.
Correct, to explore. तो वहाँ पे मैं गया and right before leaving Brown Falconer, सारे बाहर आ गए. I don't know what happened. I went back inside and went to the principal, told him कि मैं अभी 2 दिन पहले graduate हूँ. I would love to have a meeting to discuss employment opportunities. Because I thought to myself, what do I have to lose?
Wow.
अगर मैं नहीं करता ये मेरे पास तब भी job नहीं है. अगर मैं करता हूँ, let's see what
शायद
happens.
कुछ हो सकता
Correct.
है. What did he respond?
So again, it's not an easy route. उसने मुझे सीधा बोला कि just talk to the Sona rep. उसके पास जो contact है, email them. The first thing what I did when I went back home after that tour was took that email, drafted an email कि मैं ऐसे you have to explain, right? कि where you are coming from. I told them कि मैं ऐसे tour पे था, मुझे बहुत अच्छा लगा, मुझे क्या अच्छा लगा, and I want to have a meeting. Again, I want to have a meeting.
Nice.
They know what the meeting is going to be about,
Yeah.
but मैं ये नहीं कह रहा कि मुझे job दो. So it's not an easy route. कोई reply नहीं आया मुझे.
अच्छा.
2 weeks later I follow up, कोई reply नहीं आया मुझे.
Okay.
A week later I followed up again. Then the HR replied to me or apologized कि नहीं हुआ, reply नहीं करा. Agreed for a catch up, right?
Okay. With HR.
With the HR.
Okay.
Just the HR, right? And this is very important. So I was very excited कि ये मिल गया. In the background, I'm doing all my sort of building my portfolio, सारा कुछ. I'm applying to other firms as well. कहीं से replies आ रहे हैं, नहीं आ रहे, rejections आ रहे हैं, whatever. But I was like, this is something I want to focus on. तो HR के साथ meeting हुई after a week, and I'm sitting in a room. There's only the HR and myself. कोई architect नहीं, कोई director नहीं. I went all guns loaded, right? मैंने अपना portfolio रखा, मैंने अपना construction set रखा, मैंने अपना CV रखा. All she looked at was my CV. And she started talking to me as if it's just a chat because she called me for a chat.
Yeah.
तो उसने मेरा सारा background पूछा. Again, she wanted to know my story. Where I'm coming from, where do I want to go? So later I realized that chat was her sort of judging whether I'll be a cultural fit, a good fit for the company. She does not care about architecture. She's not an architect. तो उसने मुझे सीधे सीधे बोल दिया, कहती after the thing, she's like, everything about you is great, सारा कुछ, but unfortunately we don't have a role, we don't have an opening.
Oh wow.
And I was like, ठीक है, that's good. I was like, keep my portfolio, physical portfolio, as an expression of interest. She's like, no, take it with you because I know prints are very expensive. Just email it to us. I told her bluntly, I was like, if I email it to you, there are high chances that it'll get lost. Yeah. But keep this there. That's fine. I'll get another one printed. ये investment है मेरा. So took it. सारा कुछ हो गया. I went out of there. I was disappointed but happy कि यहाँ तक आया. 2 days later, I get an email saying that the portfolio you left, one of the directors flicked through it, and they want to have a meeting with you next week. So that was an actual interview.
And unexpected as well.
Unexpected.
Yeah.
And why did that happen? Because I left my portfolio.
Nice. Good job. Yeah.
So yeah, next week I meet with 2 directors, and that was a full architecture interview. They also wanted to know what I want to do, but from a technical and architecture point of view, whether it aligns with the firm. So they will ask you questions, but they want you to ask questions as well. Right? Obviously, they want to know I want a job, but they want to know whether it's a meaningful move, not just for them, but for you as well.
Right.
So you've just got to tailor yourself and align yourself with the firm.
And explain as well.
Correct.
Yeah.
So then a week later, they offered me a 6-month contract.
Okay.
And then 2 months into that, they offered me a full-time permanent role.
Wow, dude. That's a good story. That's a good journey as well. I think a couple of things, right? First of all, not a lot of people have the guts to which is like पहले तो लोग वो office crawl में नहीं जाते. Yeah, what did you?
Office crawl.
Office crawl पे नहीं जाते because वो लोग सोना और ऐसे organizations में involved नहीं होते. And then when you do that, you took a step and went back and showed interest there, and then you emailed and follow up, then another follow up. And even when they told you कि नहीं हो सकता, it was a good move to leave your portfolio there.
I mean, the one big takeaway from all of this story is resilience.
Yeah.
क्योंकि when I got that phone call, when they offered me the contract role, जो उन्होंने पहली चीज बोली, the thing that we really liked about you was that the drive.
Yeah.
कि मैं रुका नहीं. I created that opportunity. मुझे तो बोल दिया था कि नहीं है. तो मैंने वो बनाई. वो था नहीं वहाँ.
You showed the resilience.
अगर मैं कहीं पे भी I took a step back, मैं follow up ना करता HR से, नहीं होता मैं वहाँ पे.
No, I really like that. And then you ended up working there for like 3 years.
More than 3 years, yes.
That's insane. So you didn't want to switch jobs. Were you like really happy there?
I was,
because a lot of people switch, right? एक साल इधर किया. So what made you continue there for a while?
I think yes, one of the reasons is amazing culture.
Yeah.
I started with a few educational projects, got good experience, and then वो जो drive और वो जो being an active student turned into an active employee. If I felt like I want more site experience, I told them I want more site experience. They started taking me on sites.
Nice.
I told them I want to work on something different. So if you don't ask for it, you don't get it.
Yeah.
Right? तो मुझे, I kept on growing. I kept on learning a lot. There was nothing that I felt was lacking. So I didn't feel the need to switch.
And very recently you switched to not just architecture, but a different field, right? Now you're into project management.
I transitioned into project management from architecture.
How did that happen?
2 months ago. So it was, I know मैंने उस पे बोला है, money was not a primary reason.
Yeah.
The reason I transitioned was getting more exposures to other parts of delivering a project.
Okay.
So I learned the first part, the designing, the sort of creating a sketch plan, Sara Kuch, how to translate ideas into drawings
Design.
very well.
Yeah.
And जो कुछ skills थे जो I felt I was lacking was sort of communicating with the client, communicating with trades, subcontractors, how to deliver a project. So design कर लिया, वो construct कैसे होएगा, वो deliver कैसे होएगा on site, was something I really liked. And last few months Brown Falconer में मुझे from an architectural point of view, I started getting exposed to those sort of roles कि अच्छा ऐसे भी होता है, ऐसे भी होता है. इंडिया में मुझे नहीं पता था कि project managers ये सब करते हैं. So then an opportunity came up and I took it. I took it because yes, I do miss designing. Because I'm still really passionate about it. But I feel कि ये जो सारे skills हैं, again putting myself out of my comfort zone in a new challenge. Because I know जो भी मैं यहाँ कुछ सीखूंगा. Right now it's too early to say whether I'll go back into architecture or continue.
You've recently moved.
But say after 2 years, I think I really miss design. I want to go back into architecture. ये जो मैं सब सीखूंगा are transferable skills.
Right.
So मैं architecture से कुकरी में नहीं चला गया. मैं architecture से ऐसी जगह गया जहाँ से मैं ये सब चीजें सीख रहा हूँ जो कि transfer हो सके. Yes.
Do you think that if you just did Masters of Project Management, you would be doing the same role that you're doing?
Yes, Masters of Project Management या Construction Management. If अगर मैं वहाँ से graduate होता, तो I would be in a similar role जो मैं अभी हूँ.
But then you wouldn't, your passion for design and everything wouldn't be fulfilled.
Correct. There's absolutely no design in project management.
So if somebody listening to this right now, they're confused between Masters of Project Management, Construction Management, and Masters of Architecture, what do you think some of the things that they should consider?
It depends on what's more valuable for you. If money matters the most, go into construction management or project management. But if you feel like being on site is not your thing, probably go into architecture. Architecture, maybe you'll go on site, but
not as much.
Right. If you are more passionate about creative sides of things, creating spaces, designing spaces, architecture is the way to go. But agar aapko practicality and rationality, talking to people, getting things done, usme that's your niche, then probably project management or construction management.
That's really cool, because I think those are some of the things people who come from this construction or similar fields background, these are the things that they choose. So that definitely.
Definitely. And I mean, these are allied fields, right? You can switch in and out. I feel like having an architecture background and a design background helps me in my project management role. Because there are some of the decisions that you have to take on site, which might compromise the original design. But agar main sirf technical background se aa raha hu, engineering se project management, I don't think about design. I don't think about ki designer ke mind mein kya hoega while designing this. So I'll do whatever is good for construction.
Right.
Whereas now I've got a soft corner कि मुझे पता है कि okay, अगर design compromise होना है, fully ना होए, it still maintains what it has.
And you understand why the designer has designed in a certain way.
Correct.
Rather than just you know,
Yes.
That's very interesting. But also, I wanted to talk about Adelaide. Right? You chose Adelaide. One of the reasons could be permanent residencies. In all these fields, right? Don't you think just number of people out there in Melbourne and city is going to be more? Right? Number of construction that happens is going to be more. Number of firms going to be higher. Do you think you're at disadvantage if you're in Adelaide?
Adelaide is a smaller city. Everyone knows everyone.
Okay.
Right? It's a small industry, especially in architecture. So networking and everything, again, takes precedence. Once landing a job, the first step is slightly more difficult than Melbourne or Sydney because obviously less people, less jobs. But once you do that, then you can just go around. It does not matter. There's no lack of opportunities.
Okay.
I would think the only reason you would feel that you're missing out in Adelaide is because Melbourne or Sydney may naturally, the kind of projects that happen
It's bigger.
are bigger,
Okay.
might be more advanced.
Okay. Advanced in what way?
Technologically,
Okay.
design wise.
Okay.
Like there would be things happening over there जो यहाँ पे अभी नहीं हो रही हैं.
Right.
Right.
Would you ever consider moving to Melbourne or Sydney?
Probably.
Yeah.
Probably in the next couple of years. मतलब
Okay.
I feel like growing stage में you can.
Okay.
Yes, unless you. I absolutely love Adelaide.
Yeah.
ठीक है. I love the city.
What are 3 things that you love about Adelaide?
The hills, the beaches, and everything in between.
That's literally the city.
That
It's
is
like
it.
we have the hills, and then we have the city, then we have the
So
beach.
I feel like, okay, to answer your question in a broader sense, so I've always lived in the city,
Okay.
right? 5 years. So I feel it's very easy to travel to the hills. 20
Yeah.
minutes east.
Yeah.
20 minutes west, you're at the beach.
Yeah.
I can go along the river, which is one of the most picturesque places in Adelaide. I love cricket. Adelaide Oval is right across the river.
Yeah.
It's walkable.
Yeah.
It's parklands, everything.
Yeah,
I
beautiful.
love nature. I love
Yeah.
nature, right?
Very planned city. as well.
Correct.
Yeah.
And I sometimes I hate the chaos.
Yeah.
So I've been to Sydney, I've been to Melbourne.
Yeah.
At this point, अगर मैं profession side पे रख दूँ,
Mm.
I enjoy those cities for a vacation. But something always wants me to get back to Adelaide.
Yeah.
Life is a little slow,
Yeah.
but it's a bit more relaxed. It's slightly happier.
Yeah. Okay. That's very
Yeah.
interesting. And before we wrap up, I also wanted to, like, I know that you play cricket. You're very
Mm.
passionate about cricket. You have always been passionate about it.
Yeah.
You have continued your playing cricket in Australia as well.
Yes.
So anybody listening to this, they're also passionate about cricket and they want to continue this, right?
Yeah.
What are some of the steps that they can take in order to not necessarily play international or national or whatever, but continue their passion? How does it work here?
So I think because Australia, just like India, Australians love cricket, right?
Yeah.
The summer, it's happening right now.
Yeah.
One of the first places to do that would be in your uni.
Okay.
Both the unis, big unis, have their
All the universities.
all the
in
universities
Australia.
have cricketing clubs. So
Yeah.
you enter the club, you play for uni, and you make friends, right?
Yeah.
Once you finish uni, there are
Yeah.
like lots of domestic clubs, so you can play socially, or you can play in a league if you're really good.
So let's say somebody is really good into their university and stuff, and then they graduate. How do they continue?
So I feel like if you're really good at uni and you're playing at tournaments, वहाँ पे the coaches and stuff, there are also like scouts from different clubs
Okay.
who'll be at those matches, who'll
Right.
watch you,
Yeah.
and if you're really good, they'll notice you, right?
Yeah.
And they'll approach you.
Okay.
So you can carry on that passion and carry on the game after university as well.
Yeah.
And then once you start playing for clubs,
Mm.
you'll get into different leagues.
Okay.
Obviously, there are
How do people find these clubs? So, for example, let's say I'm listening to this. I know nothing about it. Like, I know how to play cricket. I'm passionate about it, but I don't know how cricket works yet.
Yeah.
So, what do I Google?
just cricketing clubs in Adelaide.
Okay.
There would be on Facebook.
Yeah.
There are so many clubs on Facebook. सबके pages होते हैं. They take out posts जब trials होंगे.
Mm-hmm.
Usually the trials start pre-summer because
Okay.
the season's in the summer.
Mm-hmm.
So that's the time. So like August, September is the time when they start trials. So
Okay.
be on the lookout during that time.
Nice. And then you can be in the club.
Correct.
Then they have like clubs play against each other as well, right?
Correct. So
And yeah.
So the clubs play against each other. Tournaments होते हैं अलग-अलग.
Okay.
And as we said, there are A, B, C, and D leagues.
Okay.
So the better you get promoted to
Different
the next
leagues.
year,
Yeah.
or you can get demoted as well.
Yeah.
So
True.
yeah, there's loads of options.
I love that, dude. No, it's very interesting, all the things that you have done. Starting from whether it's getting internships, coming here, all the things that you have done, getting your first job, like that hustle. I really appreciate that. And then you're carrying your passion as well, which is for cricket and other things, other volunteering organizations that you're involved in. If there is one advice that you want to give to international students, what would that be?
My top advice in a nutshell would be put yourself out there and be resilient.
Yeah.
Don't lose hope.
Yeah.
Don't lose hope. Just be resilient. Keep going at it, and
I
you'll
love
reach
that.
somewhere.
Yeah, I think being resilient is it's a lot harder to do. Like, easier said than done. It's one of those things, because like so many people wanted the same thing, right? The for example, the job that you got, I'm sure majority people, or like at least there'll be a significant number of people who would want to work in a similar field, similar job, or architectural firm that you did, right?
Yeah.
And not everybody gets it.
Correct.
So it takes time. But no, thank you so much for sharing the journey. This was super interesting, very learning experience for me as well, learning about your field. But yeah, thanks for doing this.
It was great talking to you and chatting about architecture and my experience. And I really hope whoever listens to this or watches this gets something out of it.
If they want to reach out to you, how do they reach out to you?
You can reach out to me on LinkedIn. My name is Zorawar Singh Basur, or my Instagram, which is zorawar.arch, A-R-C-H. So yeah, let me know. Send me a message if you have any questions. More than happy to help out always.
Awesome. Thanks for doing this.
Perfect. Thank you.